I have a question for you, Benji.
Okay.
So this Vlogtober, I have uploaded one vlog. So I would call that a major success on my end.
Yeah, compared to no uploading.
Compared to, going from 0 to 1 is the hardest, as they say. But I'm started on my second one. I'm about to have it uploaded. And I, as part of it, my new apartment plays a major role as a character throughout the storyline of this vlog. And for me, it's a difficult thing because I want to give context about my apartment because it plays such an important role in the confines of this thing. But I'm also concerned about privacy. Of course, I live there with my girlfriend. I talked to her about it. She had some concerns. I tried to kind of like make sure I was taking those into account. But you've been dealing with this for your entire YouTube career and how you balance your sharing your life publicly while maintaining a deep sense of privacy. Now, I know I haven't made the job easy on myself. I live in the middle of the city, which is highly populated, relatively recognizable. I know that, by me intentionally including as a character, that also makes it difficult as a part of the thing. But I'm curious about what your thoughts are about how you maintain privacy as someone who's sharing your life so publicly and what you choose to make public and what you choose to keep private.
Yeah. Well, you can only keep yourself private online until you can't keep yourself private online. Meaning, well, first off, what you put on there, okay, is going to determine how public your information, the context of your environment, your neighborhood, your community, and then ultimately like where you live and more about you than you want to share. But the thing is, when you go online, you get famous if you get lots of views.
Yeah.
If you create a fandom and people are watching you over and over and over, and people are just curious. And that's not talking about the crazy people that most people are worried about. I'm just talking about, generally speaking, someone that watches you, that wants to know more about you. This is why vlogs ultimately are the ultimate kind of way of connecting. Because, you and I, when we first connected, and you could say when we became friends, we didn't necessarily know that much about each other, right?
Yeah.
But over time, would you agree that both we wanted to know more about each other and that we would ask questions of each other to get to know, right?
Of course.
Okay. That's the natural progression of any relationship, even if it's kind of like creator and viewer.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. And then more information gets put out there. People kind of leave comments. I mean, even people put innocent comments like, oh, they actually live like 1 hour north of Seattle. Okay. So are you going to moderate those comments? And then there's some people like, yeah, they, this is what their house looked like or whatever, And, or like in our case, we put up photos, not even photos, like literally whole vlogs about what our house looked like. So yeah, remember that episode uploaded on January 12th, 2012? Yeah, they
like crowdsourced doxxing. That's interesting.
And that's just the innocent
Yeah.
people. Then there's people that actually try to dox you, whatever. So I remember that moment where I realized, wow, I can't fight all of this. I cannot be public. I have to kind of make a choice that I'm either going to live this public life or I'm not going to live it. That's kind of the choice. It's very black and white. So if you put yourself out there, even if you take steps to keep yourself private, yes, if there's any clues, people like to put those clues together.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about the curiosity. It's like a game for people, whether it's nefarious or it's innocent, and they're going to find out more about you. So my whole philosophy on it is I can only control what I can control, but what other people have control of will always kind of be elusive. And that's both on the legal side, because there's some things that you can actually remove. But again, if you're going against maybe 1 or 2 crazy people versus 1,000 people, well, how much is that going to cost? What kind of effort? So you're kind of deciding, I want to live this public facing. And it's not just my experience or even other creators' experience. It's celebrities.
Yeah, exactly.
Celebrities can't get around it. They have freaking tour buses in Hollywood that stop by your house.
That's true.
Like they park themselves outside the gate of your homes. Like, yeah, this is where Arnold Schwarzenegger lives. He probably never like publicly put out his address.
Yeah.
But you know, I have a history of real estate too. Your name, if it's on the recorded documents, is open for
public
people's
information.
public information.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the context of everything. But that's another thing too. It's like where I live and the people I live next to, I'm familiar with, I have history with, I feel safe in my community. And that's the other thing. I'm always paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
We're always having people around us, right? Because I've got kids, got Judy, and totally different situation versus you. One, you're different than your significant other.
Totally.
Right? Like even if you sign up, you're considered enough for them. And it's just all individual, like what you should do and how you should do it. I do believe there is a way to be completely private, but that has to start at the very beginning. So it's interesting you're asking me this question because now's the time to actually create those guardrails to do it. But it means like you can't show the rest of your apartment, right? Because if there's any clues, think about like even what you bring into the apartment. Say you bring a grocery bag that has the name of the grocery store, especially if something unique to your neighborhood. You definitely can't show anything outside of it. But if you make that, like, so the studio could literally be anywhere. You know, that's kind of the beauty of a studio. It can be anywhere. And people wouldn't know the difference. So it starts there. But guess what happens? Say you got so famous, somebody's like, "Oh, can I take a selfie with you?" Like on your street, in front of your house, and you're like, "Yeah, I can take. Let's take one, right?" And that person left a comment, "Oh, so good to meet you. Sorry I was disturbing you, before you were going," you know what I'm saying, right?
And then somebody goes to their profile and sees the picture with you. Yeah.
It's like internet investigation that you can't control. And what you can't control will be uncontrollable.
You know what's interesting about this is that now that you're mentioning that, I'm thinking about the beginning of ChatGPT and how people were kind of putting their own photos into ChatGPT, screenshots of them, I think without the EXIF data and everything on the back end of it, all that metadata, and saying, where is this? And it was pretty good at guessing where people were at. So now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like if you have anything related to remotely where you're at image-wise, it could be a danger in that regard.
So imagine that person that is super private, right? Yeah. But what's the social norm when you're famous and one of your fans sees you, right? You would agree to take a picture with them, okay?
Yes, yeah.
And if just one crazy person, but even an innocent fan, sees it and they're like, "Oh, I'm just curious. He never talks about where he lives," right? That curiosity actually makes it so that it's inevitable that they're going to find out where you live. And if it just gets put on the internet one time, right, that one time can go to 1,000, could be 100,000. So the more famous you are, the more inevitable people are going to understand more about you than you want them to. It's kind of being at peace. At the end of the day, I'm at peace with being a public person. And it's almost a game of futility to even try not to be public if you're literally going to upload to the internet and you want to become famous.
Yeah, I mean, the extreme of that, where the only thing that you can do to kind of prevent all of that is like CGP Grey, who makes these educational videos. He only ever animates his own videos, right? And so he's not really a public person, but he literally does everything he can to hide his identity behind his YouTube channel. On the other end of that spectrum, this is one of the things I always found most interesting, is Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat's like, here's the address of my studio. And people literally pull up to his studio constantly throughout his vlogs. And they'd show up as characters in it. And maybe he didn't show everything, but like he never complained about it in the vlogs and things like that when I was watching him way back in the day.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's been affecting why he creates or doesn't create.
Yeah,
you know? He literally showed even like his neighborhood.
Literally.
Like I remember him riding a skateboard. I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that in New York City because really anybody can kind of have access. Or say like someone goes there, you might not know if they're a crazy fan or just a random person. Like in my neighborhood, it would stand out because my neighborhood is just my neighbor. So if there's like a stranger walking by, which, that kind of stuff could happen, but it's more likely to happen in New York City. So I always thought that was interesting. But you're right. CGP Grey, though, does anyone know what he looks like?
I don't think anybody does.
Oh.
Yeah.
But guess what? If somebody did, that picture
I bet
would
you somebody
blow
has.
up.
I haven't looked into it, and so it's possible. But speaking of AI, though, I wanted to get to a little bit of follow up about AI advertising in particular, because we've been talking about AI advertising overall. And I just want to quote from Robert Hart from The Verge, because this is some interesting news that I saw pop up in my feed just earlier this week. We were chatting about AI right before this, and he says, stacking giant Mondelez, I actually don't know how to pronounce that, is using generative AI to slash marketing costs and is preparing to release AI-generated TV ads next year, a senior executive told Reuters. Jon Halverson, Mondelez's global senior vice president of consumer experience, said the company has spent more than $40 million on AI video tools that can halve production costs. TV ads made using the tool should be ready to air in time for the 2026 holiday season, he said, and potentially the 2027 Super Bowl. Mondelez is already using the tool to make social content for Chips Ahoy cookies and Milka chocolate, and will use it to design online product pages for Oreo cookies in November. Just want to hear your reactions to that. Curious about what you think about AI going into advertising so directly in that regard, not even in the creator space.
The most shocking part of everything you just read was that he thinks it'll be ready for the 2027 Super Bowl. No, it's going to be ready for 2026. You know, this is the other thing too. What does everyone wonder now when they go on social media? Is this real or is it not? And I'm telling you, some people, even if it's not real, they still watch it. That's why it shows up in front of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of the interesting thing about the algorithm. It only shows stuff that people want to watch, and you could almost say people actually like. There was a video of a grandma getting like a chiropractic service from a really overweight person, like clearly. And the guy literally was almost laying on her, but it looked like he was going to crack her back. But he literally cracked the table beneath her and like smashed her. And she's like laughing. Like she would be dead probably if it was real. And it's like, you're so funny. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's clearly AI.
Yeah.
I watched that whole thing and I'm not like really into that. So people have an acceptance that even if it's fake, if it's entertainment, it's entertainment. So I believe in 2026, people are going to watch it and not really care about it because it's all about the quality of the value you expect. And I'm just thinking, you said something about cookies or Chips Ahoy, or did you, right?
Yeah, so these are the people who make Oreo, right? So
Okay, yeah. So by the way, let's talk about Oreo.
Yeah.
How hard would it be for an Oreo cookie to be created by an AI image generation and then have that Oreo cookie do something crazy like dive into like a big pool of milk? I'm just thinking visually, not that hard. And if you've got some like graphics expert people working with some like AI specialists, you can make it look really real. And it's really not even a tenth the cost. It's like 1% of the cost of what it would have been 10 years ago. So then you just, build on it. I think we talked about this last time or just earlier in the week. Elon Musk put out a video. So my thought is, it's coming and it's going to be huge and it's going to replace people's jobs. It's going to create a new job. Notice I said jobs are going to be lost, but it's going to create a new job, right? That's going to be the trend here.
Yeah.
And it's smart to use it, but it's going to make real life content that much more valuable. But because whatever is easier to use and you can do at scale creates volume. And that means the thing that is kind of like old will kind of become novel. Maybe not right away, but eventually just the person that can come on camera and say something witty or do something funny and it's not edited by AI at all, it's not touched, becomes kind of cool. Does that make sense?
It does.
It's like the thing that everyone isn't doing that the cool kids or the trendsetters do, that eventually people want. And they think that is like a standout. Literally, it stands out versus, what I think all the agencies are going to create, including, which I think, mark my words, in 2026, the Super Bowl next year, there's going to be some kind of AI generated.
I guarantee
ad.
it. Yeah.
So that's why, isn't that weird that he said 2027 versus next year?
It is interesting. It reminds me of this old kind of interview with Steve Jobs where he's talking about, I think he's talking about Coca-Cola. And he says, the thing with the sugar water companies is that they go and they are run by the marketing people. They're not run by product people because there's only so much innovation you can do in the soda business.
You don't want to mess with Coca-Cola.
In fact, the only type of innovation that was happening in the 80s when he was having this interview was the shape and size of the bottle.
Or the can, right?
Yeah, like that was the big innovation that like Pepsi was pushing Coke to change their bottle shape and size. And Oreo and Chips Ahoy are going to be pretty much the same thing, right? Like their sort of innovation, like you said, you really don't want to change what an Oreo is per se. Now you might change the thumbnail here has Oreos on them, right? There's funny marketing things you can do, but fundamentally an Oreo is an Oreo, right? And to me, I think that one of the reasons this stood out to me as a story was that means that these are kind of the people who think most about marketing as it is right now and what the best way the best way to achieve marketing goals in the current environment, right? Because I'm sure this Mondelez company is probably run by people who are very good at marketing. So I'm wondering if part of that slowness is like a hesitation, this respect for the current version of the craft, right? But I also do wonder about, I don't know, do you know anybody who's been sponsored by Oreo before? Like any creators?
I've seen creators be sponsored by Oreo
Really?
before.
Interesting.
I have not, I can't recall exactly who, but the slowness is not a lack of respect. It's more of a emphasis on protecting your job.
That's true.
Literally, just like that industry is like, oh, we can't like adopt this because we're literally going to be firing ourselves to a certain degree. That's my whole perspective because Amazon, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, laid off I think like 14,000 people. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, 14,000 corporate.
Okay, 14,000.
As many as 30,000.
How much of that was AI related? Would you say if you just had to guess?
Oh, probably at least 10%, but it could be upwards of 50 to 70%.
Even if it was just 10%, that's now.
Yeah.
Imagine if it's like a year from now, it could be 50% or even higher. So the layoffs are just going to continue happening. On that note, I heard that the warehouses are going to be almost completely replaced with robot workers. And I know a lot of people, funny enough, that actually work at warehouses, right? Doing the physical job of moving products, packing packages, helping the robots, and the robots will replace them. Well, that's definitely from the AI. So going back to what you were asking me in terms of the AI being integrated slowly and why, I just think that people are seeing this trend and they're just trying to hold on to what they have, because if AI is better than you, why wouldn't you want to use it unless it's your job that's on the chopping block?
Well, and that's my question.
Because that's why, by the way, this is why creators are interesting to me. The ones that are innovative and not scared and don't look at any of the negatives of AI are just completely using it, right? They're like free from the corporate chain of like the slowness of that the machine, and they're just using it for every little thing, letting people go, having AI do like complete entire jobs for them. And you're going to see whatever happens there will eventually happen in corporate America. And that includes these marketing firms, ad agencies. It's just going to be slower there than like an individual creator.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the questions that come to mind are the ones that you started to lay out, which is how exactly are they using AI video? They just say it's an AI video tool, right? Is it replacing the entire process? Is it 100% AI generated? Is it someone generating clips and then someone else editing them together? Do they still have their special effects department? They're saying it only halves the cost, right? So which staff are getting cut or which half is being removed, right? And so those are all the questions. But you also brought up like, okay, well, some of those jobs being destroyed basically by this technology. That doesn't happen just within these marketing departments. It also happens in the creator economy, right? And that's the thing that I'm wondering about is like, you're saying that people who, like creators right now who are using AI are going to have that advantage. You think that that's going to be a necessity going forward? Is that creators are using AI in order to keep up with these marketing departments?
I don't use it at all. Really? I don't use it for my stuff at all.
Wow.
Because I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Mine is real life.
Yeah.
what introduced
Not even for like ideation and stuff like that and research?
Okay. Yes, but I was already doing that on my own. I'm just smarter, or I'm just faster. And by the way, I'm not the smarter one. It's ChatGPT, like being smart for me. But I used to just do this research on YouTube search or on Google search.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing it with ChatGPT, so it's just a little bit faster. So instead of me, like a good example is when I would go into a restaurant and want to know the history. So what do most people do when they want to know more about a business? They go to maybe Google Maps. I'm just telling you my process. And then I find that restaurant. And then I go to the restaurant's webpage within Google Maps. And then I go to the About section on the webpage. And I literally read it. Well, now I just pull up ChatGPT and said, hey, give me the brief history of this thing and put it into like the format of an intro for a video that I'm going to be putting up on YouTube for an audience that loves food and might want to know about it. And then bam, it goes from maybe like 5 minutes of work to 50 seconds of talking, and I'm off to the races. That's an example of how I'm using it. But for the actual creative work, personally, I'm not using it.
The filming, the recording, the editing,
thumbnail creation, all that.
Okay.
It's still very human intensive or human involved, 100%. I don't foresee that because for me personally, even though I've got this interest and I think the innovation of AI is inevitable, I actually want to go the opposite direction because I know, like I said, it'll be novel. It'll be the thing that less people do because it is to a certain degree harder, but not really when it comes to longer videos. Because I'll tell you a new thing that came up for me in the last week since we recorded. My longer videos just crush. The longer the video, the better. And that's where AI cannot compete.
Yes.
And that's why the creator, though that's maybe a whole nother discussion, will have competition to AI content, period, right? Not just like jobs within the content creation, but there's actual AI generated Sora clips that will take the space of a short form creators video popping up on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, the longer the video, the more you like are not playing that game that's competitive. It's its own world, which on that note, it's like wide open. The opportunity is there. So even content that's like okay is succeeding just because it's longer.
On that note, one of the best things that you can do if you want to go long on YouTube is go to vloggingacademy.com, where Benji teaches you how to vlog the new way, which we believe is the easiest way to go long in the new era of YouTube. One of the things that we talk about in that course is understanding the exact way or the exact tactics to go from something like the length of a piece of short form content, which maybe is 20 seconds to a minute long, to something that's actually more like 10 minutes or 20 minutes long. And sometimes that magic number, 30 minutes, right, Benji? And so,
by the way, the second magic number is 60. It's harder to go to 60 though.
So if you want to understand the basis of how to get to the 31st and then the 60, you can join all the other hundreds of Vlogging Academy students at vloggingacademy.com, learning Benji's new vlogging method and learning how to go long on YouTube during the best time ever to go long on YouTube. Our thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy for helping make this show possible. If you're looking for something that is kind of the opposite direction of AI, I think the best way to look is animation right now, to some degree. There's lots of great AI animation, but there's also lots of like labor-intensive, painstaking art creation when it comes to animation, even in the age of computer animation. And Benji, I'm sure that your girls are not into K-pop demon hunters, right?
Yeah, it's not. They don't even talk about it at all. Like, I don't have daughters that have wigs that have the same long ponytail hair style and dress up in the outfits, and then they change their names to the character's name. I don't have any daughters like that.
They probably don't sing the songs, listen to them at all.
No, we don't sing it all day, even when the movie's not on. And I don't know the names of the characters like Saja Boys or, the K-pop, boy band group and their theme song. I don't know any of that. I didn't record a video yesterday of me dancing to the theme song that my daughters that are toddlers were singing in the kitchen. Again, no music, no movie playing. I didn't do any of that stuff.
Well,
what is that? What's K-pop demon hunters?
it's a good thing that you don't know anything about it, because we're going to talk a lot about it today. And also, it's too bad that video doesn't exist, because I would have been watching that stat.
Well, it'll be on tomorrow's vlog.
We'll link that in the description. I bring up K-pop Demon Hunters because it is a sensation, right? I talked about my girlfriend earlier. She's a second grade teacher. The only thing that kids talk about is 6'7" and K-pop Demon Hunters. Those are the two things. It's a really interesting story. I don't know how much you know about the backstory of K-pop Demon Hunters, but just for context, it's, I would say, still the #1 movie in the world right now. It has started off as something that was created by Sony Animation Studios.
Oh, I do know that.
Yes.
I know the backstory of that.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about what you know so far.
And isn't K-pop Demon Hunters the #1 movie, period, on Netflix history?
I think it is. I should look that up.
It's one of the biggest movies. It's kind of like, to me, the new Frozen. Frozen was a groundbreaking movie by Disney over a decade ago, and funny enough, blew up for the same reason, and we'll talk about that. But the Sony studios that made it, the reason I'm familiar with them is they created one of my favorite movies, which happens to be an animation, which is the Spider-Man Into the Spideyverse animated movie. Because Spider-Man, just to give context, is my favorite Marvel character. I used to read the comic books. So when it came out in 2001, the Tobey Maguire actual movie, and you saw like a human-looking Spider-Man flying on the screen, and it looked like New York City, it looked like the real version of the comic books, blew my mind. So fast forward 20 years later, when that Sony Studios made the animated version, right? We had done all the real movies. There's been like 7, Spider-Man movies, Marvel's Endgame, whatever. When that animated video, they actually brought the comic book to life. And I was like, wow, kudos to Sony for making animation cool again, because it was going the direction of CGI and looking more real, even though it was animated. They're like, no, we're going to go the opposite. We're going to go back to the roots.
Very stylistic,
Yeah. So then when the K-pop Demon Hunters came out, and I found out I saw a lot of correlations, even though it wasn't Marvel, it wasn't Spider-Man. The art, and even just spoiler alert, there's a lot of fighting, girl fighting, and there's just like a lot of very much superhero like movements. I was like, this is so cool. I can see the appeal as a grown-up that loves comic books, loves Spider-Man, and even that new Sony version of Spider-Man and K-pop Demon Hunters. But the other thing I was going to mention is both Frozen, which was like the previous winner of like the groundbreaking animation film, which was over a decade ago, and K-pop Demon Hunters, both blew up because of YouTube.
Oh, interesting. So tell me about your...
So, of course, Disney, right? It blew up because it was their feature film.
Yeah.
And that was on thing. But what happened was people were singing the theme songs of Frozen on YouTube. I know vloggers. Their name is Sam and Nia. They blew up because they had sung the theme song Frozen, right? I forgot what it was. In their car. Let it go. Right? Anyway, their kids in the back. And it went viral. And then they became family vloggers because of that. They are YouTubers because they sang that song. But they're not the only ones. Tons of people did, okay? And I remember thinking, I wonder what the next one was. So every time there was an animated film, Disney especially, families would do this, right? Because they saw people like Sam and Nia blowing up. Guess what? That kind of happened, but never to the same degree until K-pop Demon Hunters. Now, I know it's the #1 movie, to Sony's credit and to Netflix credit, because it is like a legit movie. But guess where my kids watch it even more than Netflix? On YouTube. The music videos of K-pop Demon Hunters, the clips of K-pop Demon Hunters. Even when they just want to listen to the song, they're not listening to it on the Netflix platform. They're pulling it up on YouTube Music, or just watching the music video on YouTube. See, it's the viralness on YouTube that helps it make. And guess what happens? You love it so much, when you want to watch a movie, you go back to Netflix to watch it because they don't have the full movie on YouTube. That's the only thing that YouTube doesn't have. But YouTube has everything else because you can find whole playlists of all those songs, the whole music video. And this is another credit to the Sony producers, whoever came up with this. Did you know late night TV, they basically film it like segments for YouTube?
Yes. Yeah. Okay?
They did this with K-pop Demon Hunters. How many songs are just mini music videos?
Yeah, that's very true.
They are. They really are. And when I watch each one of those on YouTube with my kids, it's smart because there's a beginning and an end. Just like any music video, you don't have to watch a whole movie to get the value. But where are you doing it? Not on Netflix. You're doing it on YouTube. So I saw this already happen with Frozen. It's happening with a thing. And guess what else they're doing? They're dressing up like the characters, doing their own music video renditions of K-pop Demon Hunters. And guess where they used to do that too? Frozen. They would dress up like Elsa, be in the snow, and then sing the Let It Go song. And those would go viral. Same thing's happening right now. So no one really talks about this because, of course, all the attention's on Netflix. Me being super biased, but just looking at the numbers and observing my kids, I'm like, wow, YouTube did it again. And even though they do great credit for the great animation, the great storytelling, and I think the culture relevance, right? Because K-pop is huge.
Yes.
And, the whole kind of nature of, by the way, they even play on the whole like creator thing because they're like influencers inside the movie.
Yeah.
The bigger variable is YouTube that no one's really talking about.
That's interesting, and I want to come back to that in a second because obviously Netflix has a different perspective. Analysts kind of have a slightly different perspective.
Course, yeah.
But I think it's actually pretty compelling, relatively speaking. So we might end up with a little bit of a head-to-head here, but I want to just back up and give a little more context. So K-pop Demon Hunters was in production at Sony Studios for 7 years. I don't know if you know this. It was kind of one of those like tortured projects from end to end where it was like cursed. You couldn't get it through this thing. And then people obsessed over this next part and they couldn't get it quite right. And then they obsessed over it. I mean, that's why it's such a good movie, right? That's why it's so popular is because people obsessed over this thing and they wanted to make it great, right? Now, at the end of it, Sony didn't necessarily, because they have their own distribution arm, right? So they could have brought it to movie theaters. They could have distributed it to other platforms, whatever. But they were kind of like, we're not sure about this. We're going to license this to Netflix. So Netflix buys the licensing rights to K-pop Demon Hunters via Sony Studios. And slowly, over the summer, I guess, really, I forget exactly when it was released, it started to pick up steam a little bit. And so I want to read from this quote that is from the, I'm reading from Ben Thompson at Stratechery, but he's quoting Netflix's CEO Ted Sarandos during, I think, their investor call, and then he has his commentary afterwards. So he says, "We believe that this film, K-pop Demon Hunters, actually worked because it was released on Netflix first." Now, what he's comparing it to here is releasing it in theaters versus other streaming platforms versus Netflix. So he says, this worked, K-pop Demon Hunters only worked because it was released on Netflix first. He continues, "Look, we had a film that people fell in love with. That's first and foremost, but not in a huge way on the first day or even on the first weekend. In fact, it was the super fans who watched the movie and repeat watched the movie that drove the recommendation engine that got it in front of more super fans who also fell in love with the movie. So that ease and value that allowed folks to repeat view it. That ubiquity of distribution, which took all the guesswork out of how to watch it, when you did finally see it on your social media feed, all of this contributed to K-pop Demon Hunters blowing up all over the world. And I would argue in a way that it couldn't happen anywhere else. If anything, this actually reinforces our strategy because being on Netflix gave the film a chance to build momentum, and it allowed fans to learn the songs and watch it over and over again and to make their own posts and their own dances around K-pop Demon Hunters." Now, I'm going to read Ben Thompson's commentary and I want to hear you respond. Ben Thompson says, "There's a really interesting line here, which is, quote, in fact, it was the super fans who watched the movie and repeat watched the movie that drove the recommendation engine that got in front of more super fans who also fell in love with the movie," end quote. This is a humble admission in some respects. Sarandos isn't claiming that he or any human at Netflix knew that K-pop Demon Hunters would be a hit. Rather, it was the very structure of Netflix that discovered that an animated film was a burgeoning hit and automatically capitalized on it. What do you think?
No.
You're shaking your head no.
So, there's different layers here. A great movie is determined by how many people go and watch it. So in the case of Netflix, it'd be views, or in the case of like a movie theater, ticket sales. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And that shows you it's a great movie because people want to go watch it, or they hear somebody else watching it and they go to watch it, or they go back again. Okay. What's one of my favorite movies in the last 5 years? I talk about it. It's like the greatest Tom Cruise movie.
Maverick.
Top Gun, right?
Yeah.
And I watch in theaters twice, and I constantly watch it all over again, okay? K-pop Demon Hunters, I think equally as good. I don't know how much money it made, right? But it's different dynamics. It's not at the movie theater, it's at Netflix, okay? But which one made a bigger cultural impact?
I would say K-pop Demon Hunters.
100%.
Yeah.
That's because of YouTube.
Interesting.
Because when Maverick, which by the way, more age appropriate for adults, kids aren't necessarily watching as much. So that's one part of it. Okay. But the second part is this: there ain't no like catchy music video type of songs that people are going to sing outside, or more importantly, that are going to watch it on YouTube. You know what I watch on YouTube of Top Gun Maverick is some of those clips.
Yeah.
I like watching, just real quick, if I just want to get a little motivation, I watch, Tom Cruise fly in there and blow up the nuclear site or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's limited to that. My kids definitely aren't like watching it. K-pop Demon Hunters, it's endless.
Yeah.
And people are making their own renditions. That's 100% because of YouTube. So the music videos, did you know there's like women that will dress up like each character, wig, clothes. I told you my daughters are doing, I was joking about it. They were actually doing it, right?
Of course, yeah. No.
But there's people that actually do it, and then they actually sing and dance the actual music video, and then they upload it, and that on their own, I don't know how they get around the IP or whatever, gets like millions of views, like tens of millions of views. That is probably, you're talking like thousands of videos like that, okay? And then beyond that, people are watching the actual music video at the Sony place, or that the Sony uploads to their YouTube channel. You can see all that stuff. So culturally, it becomes this phenomenon. Now, let's even isolate it before what happens on YouTube and social media. K-pop. K-pop, one of the reasons it became big was vlogs on YouTube. Like, people don't know this, okay? The whole like K-pop band members having like diehard fans, because those K-pop members were putting up vlogs on themselves, deepening the relationship with the fans, okay? Secondly, music videos. Music videos are huge. On what platform? YouTube, okay? Say they produce this like they were different music videos. I think, if off the top of my head, I want to say there's at least 5, if not 6 full-fledged music videos that came out of this. It's like a musical, right?
Totally.
But not like a musical video, because you can watch it with no context and it's interesting and the songs are catchy. And so you combine those two, right, with the fact that it's like a superhero movie. That's what made the movie great, beyond the story. The story is number one, but then the format, right, and kind of the context of like the things. The third layer, though, is what's happening on YouTube and social media. So this is why this guy's talking about it, but he's missing one of the biggest variables. Like he said, it drove the algorithm to put it in front of people, right? The algorithm that he's not talking about is the YouTube algorithm putting in front of people. And then guess what? Other creators doing their own music videos. And you're like, I wonder what, like what a creator would do, like me. I see another creator that I know does this thing with other like Disney movies. It's like, they made one of this one. What is this? And then I see the actual music video on YouTube, and then I might actually check out the video. I mean, at this point, it's just hard to avoid the whole conversation around it. So, though what he's saying is correct to a certain degree, I'm not trying to take away the greatness of the 7 years of work and obsession and the skill and the delivery, and then like all those other things, right? The story and all the different aspects of it. But what made it different than Top Gun Maverick, which was, that was the first time like a big blockbuster hit, got $1 billion in revenue at the box office, is the fact that it's culturally has an impact because of the social part of it, which I believe 90% is YouTube. And that is the fundamental difference. And that's why, like, for me, if I'm a movie producer, I don't want to taint the story. I want people to cook the way they're going to do it in this, like, draw or whatever. But I'm like, okay, how do we make this so that the music video of this song gets 1 billion views on YouTube? Because that's how you're going to actually market the actual video, even if it's on Netflix, beyond anything. This happened with Frozen. It's happening with K-pop Demon Hunters. And it's interesting. Both those movies blew up uniquely on Frozen for the first time because of YouTube. Now it's already been tested and proven. It happened again because of YouTube. And funny enough, I would love to talk about this. I actually think that if you put out a movie on YouTube, it might not actually be as successful, and it has to do everything with ads.
We're actually going to talk about that in a second, but I want to continue down this path a little bit because I think there's a lot of richness here. So first of all, just a little bit of context. Netflix does publish kind of its top movies view counts. You want to take a guess at how many that K-pop Demon Hunters has?
Wow. I'm going to say the actual movie itself.
The actual movie itself on Netflix.
I'm going to say 2 billion views.
No, it's 325 million, which is the most of all time.
Okay, got it. So I'm comparing it to dollars, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
By the way, this is kind of fascinating to me because what's the number of views a video gets on YouTube that's like it becomes mind-blowing?
1 million.
No, 1 billion.
Because nobody's ever done it.
Well, no, people have done it.
They have?
Yeah, there's been people doing I think mutually. Can you correct me on this? I think
it's Gangnam Style was the first one to hit 1 billion, and then Bruno
really?
Mars Uptown Funk is at a billion, and then Ed Sheeran is at 1 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so the Billy mark, right? So look, by the way, videos. Okay, without even looking. When Gangnam hit 1 billion views, it was like the first video that did it. Oh, actually, to be fair, no, I think Justin Bieber's song did it earlier, right? But this Gangnam Style did it really quick. How many billions of views do you think Gangnam Style has now?
3.
5.7 billion.
Wow.
Okay. So that's why when I think crazy big, I think 1 billion. That's why I said that number, like totally. 2 billion. I thought, if Gangnam Style is like Korean artists dancing all goofy, right? Got 1 billion. Oh, they definitely got 1 billion. This was crazy. Okay, you just said 300 million?
300 million.
Oh my gosh, I'm about to blow your mind. Okay, K-pop Demon.
Are you wondering about watch time?
No,
I have watch time.
Not watch time. By the way, watch time I think is really important. Okay. Golden is like the #1 music video from it. And when I say music video, it's just a segment from the video that they made into a music video. It's called Golden. And it's from the Sony Pictures Animation channel. Official lyric video. Not just like the video, the lyrics video. How many views do you think that got on YouTube? Okay. It's only 3 minutes and 19 seconds.
Oh, this is a hard one. I'm going to guess 100 million views.
621 million.
Yeah.
Double the views of the thing. Now, you and I both know that average view duration is really important, right? Like, because, it's a 1.5 hour movie versus this is 3 minutes.
Yes.
But still, 620 is still 620 million active views on YouTube, okay? That's just one. Their next one, right? It's like talking about Saja Boys. The next one is Your Idol by the Saja Boys, right? K-pop Demon Hunters, Sony Animations channel. How many views do you think that has? You probably don't even know this.
That's number 2. I don't know.
268 million.
Okay.
Next, I'm just going to go down the line because, again, like I'm flexing for YouTube for good reason. Soda Pop, that's the one my kids love, right? You're my soda pop.
I do know that one.
Okay. That one, Sony Pictures Animations channel, 402 million views. Okay. Next one, How It's Done. That's actually my favorite one. It's like so like savage what they do there to the demons. That one, 310 million views. Okay. And then, okay, I keep saying Sony Animation's YouTube channel, right? Because there's so many other channels that put up stuff. I'm just going to do a couple more. The Netflix family put out one called the Ultimate K-Pop Demon Hunters Song Compilation, 18 minutes. So it probably puts it. I know this because my kids watched this one specifically, 250 million views. Okay. Wow. And then the last one is, wait, let's see. Then it goes just all kinds of random channels putting up their own. Okay, look, Soda Pop Saja girls version. So somebody created a Saja boys music video, but the female version, and it's just like that. That has 10 million views. And then it just keeps going. I'm not even going to name the channels or the videos, but I'm just going to tell you the views of these K-pop Demon Hunters creator-created videos. 46 million views. 91 million views, 53 million views, 63 million views, 113, by the way, free. This is another Sony Pictures animation, 113 million views, 32 million views, 100 million views, 1.7 million views. Then it goes to 526,000. Finally, we hit thousands, okay? And then next one, 10 million, 217. Okay, I could go on and on and on. I'm proving my point just on YouTube alone. I actually am shocked it's not more views on Netflix. Honestly, I thought it would be at least 500 million views. Now that'll continue going, right?
Yeah.
But there's just so many. This is the one element I didn't mention that I was joking about at the beginning. Kids. What do kids do that parents don't do? They keep watching the same thing over and over. And where can they do that over and over the easiest? YouTube. Because what do kids have in terms of their mind that adults don't have anymore?
Time? I don't know.
Short attention spans.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So they don't want to sit through the whole movie because they like those theme song moments. So YouTube, they like going from one music video to the next video. They're the ones giving all these views to YouTube, okay? And guess what? That's what makes it play all day in a parent's house in the background. And then you go to watch a movie with your kids. I'm telling you, I knew right away when this started hitting the headlines the significance of YouTube for this movie. And now you're looking at these views. The cool thing about these views, it's going to keep going up. I actually think faster and more than Netflix views will be. Now, tell me about the average view duration.
Well, I don't know about the average view duration. I know that this article is quoting about 500 million hours watched, which is kind of amazing to think about. But I'm thinking more about that recommendation algorithm thing, right? And the relationship between Netflix and YouTube, right? Because what you're kind of actually describing, and even Ted Sarandos in this quote, which I didn't pick up the first time around, was kind of a symbiosis between the two. And I think what you're doing is you're framing it as a YouTube first thing. I think obviously Ted would frame it as just to play devil's advocate, as a Netflix first thing. Right?
I would actually correct that. I'd say it's a good movie first thing.
And actually, he says that as well. He literally says, look, we had a film that people fell in love with. That's first and foremost. Period. So that's one thing we can all agree on, is that the quality of the content is the most important.
So what I'm saying is, whether it was at movie theaters, Netflix, or even Amazon Prime, I actually believe it would do really well.
And I guess that's kind of the point of this, is that in the old days of the movie industry, the problem is that you wouldn't have as many at-bats because there's only so many movie theaters with so many hours in the day where people are watching movies for so long.
Yes.
Right? And so studio executives would have to go and they'd have to choose which movies would be seen. And based off of how K-pop Demon Hunters was treated by Sony Animation, don't you think that Sony Animation wishes they held on to this, first of all?
What do you mean, held on to it?
Because they could have distributed it on their own, but they licensed it to Netflix. So Netflix gets all the upside of K-pop Demon Hunters, basically.
Oh, see, I don't know enough about the industry to know what they're thinking or what they would desire. I still think it's a bigger win than they could have had on their own. That's my thought. Because when you say release it on their own, their option would be Amazon maybe, or
movie theaters.
Yeah.
And so I guess my point is that this movie may not have made it to theaters in an old version of the Hollywood system. And that's what Ted Sarandos is saying. He's saying that he believes, and again, I agree with you that the content is the most important thing. I think everybody would agree on that. But when it comes to the actual recommendation and distribution of this thing, I think you have to give it to Netflix first, and at least in my opinion, if I'm taking a side here, because the movie was posted to Netflix first, right? And what Ted is saying is that this thing was not popular at the beginning. In fact, it was really slow developing. In fact, it was just a few people who were, this is kind of interesting because there's application to the creator space, super fans of the movie. They just happened to have it recommended on their timeline. They did one of those things where you surf Netflix for 15 hours and then you finally click a movie that you're going to watch for 3 hours and you click on it and they fell in love with it and they watch it over and over again. And the algorithm was like, oh, wait, there's some like super fans here. We should show this to more people. And then it started snowballing. Next kind of round, it's a bigger group. It goes bigger and bigger. And then it gets to this point where it becomes a cultural thing. And then people start posting to YouTube. And then YouTube starts having it in its algorithm, which gets recommended to other people. And of course, word of mouth also happens. And then it goes even further than that in the sense that then those people go over to Netflix and watch the movie. And then you've got this virtuous cycle between the two, which is that symbiosis that you're talking about, right? And so if I'm playing devil's advocate here, you could say that what Ted Sarandos is saying is that the same type of thing that we talk about on YouTube with the algorithm picking hits is what happened here on Netflix first, which then spilled out over into the broader social media ecosystem. And Ted even says this to some degree. He said, and again, of course, he's the CEO of Netflix, so he's going to frame it in something that's favorable to Netflix, right? But he says, the ubiquity of distribution, which took all the guesswork out of how to watch it when you did finally see it show up on your social media feed, all of this contributed to K-pop Demon Hunters blowing up all over the world, right? And so that's the interesting part to me is that, first of all, this idea of the symbiosis between the two platforms every single week comes clearer and clearer. Netflix is buying all these shows from YouTubers. They're taking things down from YouTube because they want YouTube viewers to come over to Netflix, right? You're describing this thing with K-pop Demon Hunters spilling out into the culture and then blowing up so that way everybody kind of reacts to it and it then hooks into YouTube's algorithm as well. And then that level of overlap is just tighter than it has ever been, and it's clearer than it has ever been. And we're going to get to kind of the head-to-head here in just a second. But to me, I think that that's how I would frame it, is that, it's interesting, that Netflix, with an algorithmic recommendation platform, similar to YouTube's to some degree, is behaving similarly to YouTube in that it's picking someone who may not have been a hit and making them a hit, right? And then the second thing is that when that symbiosis happens, then it's like multiplicative. YouTube is amplifying Netflix and Netflix is amplifying YouTube. And then it's kind of this back and forth growth thing that's going to happen until, K-pop Demon Hunters isn't cool anymore, which may never happen. So,
yeah. And I'll keep this short. I don't want to take credit away from Sony and the producers, the directors, the animators, because it's a great movie first. But my point with Top Gun Maverick is a great movie isn't going to be a cultural phenomenon. What becomes a cultural phenomenon is what spills into YouTube world, right? And people create their own versions of it. It is wild. And I've seen this many times. And it's going all the way back to Frozen when people, would literally wear a platinum blonde wig with the by the way, this kind of crazy correlation. Elsa had the ponytail, long ponytail. And that was like, she's famous for like whipping her hair out and letting her hair down. And that's when she sings Let It Go in the Snow. And then people would wear that wig in the snow and do it. Rumi, the main character of K-pop Demon Hunters, has that purple long ponytail. She never lets it out though. I think maybe there's a couple scenes or whatever. But that just I don't think that make or break the thing. So the movie itself is good. A couple things though I want to break it down.
Please.
This movie is also unique from a creative standpoint. And this is giving credit to whoever thought this way. K-pop is already huge, right? K-pop in itself is huge. The whole culture around K-pop music. And this is taking a K-pop band and then making it into the second aspect, superheroes, okay?
Yes.
It's a superhero movie, period. I think that part of it was what was interesting to me. I'm in Taekwondo. So the animation of the martial arts is really good.
Yeah.
It's very accurate.
Yeah.
It's not cheesy. It looks like like the Spider-Man movie that Sony made, okay?
Yeah.
Next thing, anime. So it takes parts of anime history and includes it, where like it changes the face to look like the comic books that you would read. I was like, oh, that's cool that they implement that, because it could come off as cheesy, but it was very natural. And then the last one is the music videos. Combining all of those and the storyline is what makes it so great. But my point is, it had the greatness, and the views on YouTube show it because of the cultural I don't know, like explosiveness.
Yeah.
And that's just a platform like YouTube is the only one that can do that, because, you know, let's just talk numbers. Creators who made those music videos, they made money off of those views. If you get a video that does 10 million views,
maybe, because ultimately it could be Netflix that's making that money, right? Or Sony Animation
Creative
Studios.
rendition, if they get the ads, they're going to make the money.
That's
if
true.
It's but I don't know for sure. But guess where they also make the money? If they get subscribers from it and they watch other videos of
That's
theirs.
true, yeah.
Sam and Nia is a good example. They actually sang the actual Frozen song. I know for a fact back then, Disney's like clamping on. It's like, hey, we're going to get the revenue from it. But did Sam and Nia lose out on opportunities to make money?
No, kickstarted their career.
Kickstarted their career. And
Yeah.
so that's the thing. Views are still so important, and that attention can create a whole new journey for you as a creator. And it's funny, we talked about this whole thing. We haven't talked about the significance for creators.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think what it did was it brought even more traffic to YouTube than that otherwise wouldn't happen. Because the thing is this, you still have to pay for Netflix.
Yeah.
So what if you couldn't watch a movie? Well, guess what? You can watch for free. Basically half the movie in music video form.
That's very true. Actually, I think that the bottom line for me is that just the power of the algorithms and that symbiosis between YouTube and Netflix, right? That no matter what your perspective is on what made it successful, everybody agrees, at least in this conversation, that the algorithms between the two platforms played an enormous role. And it just shows you how far we've come over the last 10 to 15 years, where the algorithms can be this powerful at making something like that spread. In fact, there's an interesting tidbit before we get on to the next part with Netflix here, which is that you know for a fact that they didn't know that this thing was going to be a hit. And you know how I know that?
How?
There's going to be no K-pop Demon Hunters toys for Christmas this year. They tried to get them licensed with Mattel, but they can't get them into production quickly enough because it happened too late.
Oh my gosh.
So 2026 is the year that they're going to make K-pop Demon Hunters toys. And that's too late. That's a year and a half too late. Isn't that crazy?
I'm going to tell you though, Halloween's coming up tomorrow. It's going to be the number one outfit.
Oh,
out there.
easily.
It's going to be the number one.
Easily.
And it's not just going to be the female characters, right? It's going to be the guys too. You're going to see a bunch of dads looking like Saja boys, or I forgot what the guy's name is.
It's going to be pretty funny.
Yeah. I should have done that with the kids.
That
would have been funny.
That would have been really good. So that's the positive side for Netflix, right? That's lots of sort of positivity and having a global hit, their number one movie ever, which is kind of amazing, and the spillover into YouTube and how that benefits YouTube, which is kind of crazy because they didn't have to do any work at all. They just let YouTubers make videos. On that note, it also has been kind of a weird quarter for Netflix. And I know it's kind of weird. This is a show for creators. We're talking a lot about Netflix. I think it's going to be a common theme here because really, like I said, more than ever, Netflix and YouTube are head to head with one another. They are symbiotic, yes, but they're also going to butt up against one another quite a bit. So I just want to give a little bit of context about what's happening at Netflix because it speaks to that battle and just how powerful YouTube is. So if in the last segment, I landed on Netflix's side a little bit in my devil's advocacy, in this one, you'll see just how much I think that YouTube is dominating the space overall. So from, let's see, this is from the Wall Street Journal. Netflix's revenue rose 17% to $11.5 billion in the third quarter from the same period the year earlier, just below its own forecast for the period. The company said Tuesday that it recorded its best ever quarter for ad sales and is on track to more than double revenue from that business this year. So better revenue overall and better ad revenue than ever before. So that's the Wall Street Journal. From Bloomberg, Netflix Inc. shares fell since the most since April 2022 after a tax dispute with Brazil cut into third quarter earnings and raised growth concerns among investors. Used to positive surprises from the streaming leader, operating income was up to $3.24 billion during the period, according to the statement Tuesday, about $400 million below the company's forecast and analyst estimates. For the first time in more than 2 years, revenue failed to beat Wall Street estimates, according to data compiled by Bloomberg. Netflix shares fell as much as 10% to $1,117 on Wednesday, the biggest intraday drop in more than 3 years. Last thing from Bloomberg. Investors have worried that Netflix customers aren't increasing the amount of time they spend on the service about the potential danger of video created by artificial intelligence. The vast majority of growth in streaming has been going to free services like YouTube, Roku, and Tubi. Netflix sought to address those concerns in its letter to shareholders, touting record subscriber engagement in the most recent quarter. I'll talk more about that in a second, but I want to leave it there for a second. So just to review, more revenue than ever before, better ads than ever before, shares falling more than in the last 3 years.
You're saying more revenue for Netflix?
For Netflix, yeah. But their shares fell because they couldn't meet expectations, right? And people are also concerned about kind of the headwinds that they're facing, right, when it comes to free services and when it comes to artificial intelligence. So I want to leave it there, and then I'll probably buttress your point here in a second, because their letter to shareholders was actually really concerning to people, and Netflix probably didn't even realize it. So first, your response.
We're talking about how we're trying to give credit to Sony and the animators, right? And then also give the flowers to Netflix. Set that aside. Say everything you just said is correct, and they're the ones responsible for being big. How much money did YouTube make off of that?
That's very true.
Freaking A. All those ads that play on the Sony Animation Channel music videos, how much does YouTube take? Like at least 55% or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know their licensing deal when it comes to music, but in an average video, I think it's 45%.
YouTube did no work. YouTube literally did no work, and they made money off of everything. So think about the freaking gangsterness of that. I just made up a word. That gangsterness, they just stole all that value. That value could have been at Netflix, and that's what. Okay, remember how I said Netflix, to be fair, if you put Demon Hunters, the K-pop Demon Hunters on YouTube, I don't think it would have had the same success as a movie yet that it did on Netflix, and it has everything to do with ads.
Yeah, I want to hear your explanation of that, because we're going to talk more about it in a second.
Because
I want to hear.
There's no ads when I watch it on Netflix.
That's true.
And you don't want ads in a movie as much as like I advocate for YouTube and the ads I make money off of. When you watch a movie, you don't want ads, because that's the most annoying thing happening on streaming platforms out of necessity, because they have to make money to be able to survive, right? But when I watch K-pop Demon Hunters, because we're paying for the top premium one, right? Creme de la creme, no ads viewing experience. No commercials played when we watch it, okay? Mm-hmm. But the problem is we have to pay for Netflix, and we can watch it there. On the flip side of that, you do have to watch an ad, right? Or pay for premium on YouTube to watch all those music videos or those creative renditions or whatever related on YouTube. But anybody can watch them. And the thing is, people are willing to watch the ads, to watch the free music video version versus go over to Netflix and watch the clean version, because they don't want to scour through the movie. Like what I would actually do, for sure, like, I don't know, like, why they don't think about doing this.
Like break out the music videos.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
and
very
they
true.
do actually have that. I mean, like, maybe you could look for it neutrally to see if that's a thing, but no one's watching it if it's there. But yeah, break them all out so that you have the option. Like they always have the option below the movie. Hey, these are other movies you might want to watch. I would have all those music videos there just as an option to capture that runoff that YouTube is betting. I mean, just set aside everything I said, just the amount of viewership and the actual amount of time people are spending on YouTube and the money made from doing nothing. They can do this with everything. Even like the Top Gun Maverick movie, right? That I watch clips on YouTube because it's easier to watch this one badass scene where he shoots down like he's like famous for being an ace, shooting down 5 fighter pilots. He did that all on YouTube to me, and there was an ad that played on that video, and the I don't know, maybe they share it. The thing is that clip that I watch isn't even on the studio's channel. It's just this like movie review channel.
Yeah. The flip side of that, though, is that to your point earlier, by putting it on YouTube, it actually opens up the audience broader and maybe makes them into subscribers of Netflix eventually, right? Because they get to watch these music videos that are really popular and see all these YouTubers making content that they like.
Maybe.
And they're like, oh, well, maybe I should go to Netflix and subscribe.
Maybe, but they had to watch a YouTube video and pay their dues, right?
Yeah, in that regard, that's true.
Money. I don't know. Like, I just think the perspective of YouTube's benefit outweighs everything for Netflix because that is their business, right? That's Netflix's business to make movies. So of course they should have a movie that pops off once in a while. But then to have a whole nother business, whole nother platform, and YouTube be able to basically steal from it. You know what I just thought when you were talking about all this? Netflix or YouTube is to Netflix what TikTok is to YouTube, right? Like TikTok is everything YouTube
That's very true.
wasn't and couldn't be, and now is trying to be. And YouTube is everything that Netflix can't be, right? But Netflix wants to be. You get the smaller version, the quick version, the quick hit on TikTok, right? Shorts. Now there's YouTube Shorts, right? But then YouTube is like everything that you want to get out of Netflix, but it's not there. So you go to YouTube to do it, right? It's kind of interesting how that
it's kind of a feeder system all the way up the ecosystem to some degree, right? Like you go from the smallest to the biggest.
I don't even know what's happening on TikTok.
Yeah. In terms of K-pop Demon Hunters? Oh yeah, I'm sure it's very popular. And arguably probably even more social because people can remix, comment more, do all of those things like that.
Do the dances
exactly.
and do the song. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I do want to kind of talk more about the head-to-head between Netflix and YouTube, though, which is that one of the reasons why the stocks fell is because they published their own letter to their investors about things that they saw as positive, right? And so one of the things they pointed out is they have these graphs, right? And if you imagine all the way on the left side, back in 2022, they have Netflix at 7.5% of TV time, viewing time. We obsess over this with the Nielsen gauge. And then they fast forward to 2025 and it's 8.6%. So 7.5 to 8.6%. They gained 1.1 percentage points, which is a 14% increase over the past 3 years, basically, or 2 years or so. Yeah, 3 years. Then they have all other streaming, which goes from 24% to 37%, and then they stack all the rest of them all the way up to the top. So Netflix published this, and they said, our successful slate, and they're talking about K-pop Demon Hunters here, helped us drive record TV view share in Q3 in the United States and United Kingdom, two of our largest markets. Based off of Nielsen and Barb data from 2022 to 2025, our quarterly for TV view share has grown 15% and 22% in the US and UK respectively, as you see in the charts below, the ones I just described. Given the still substantial amount of linear viewing globally, we believe there's plenty of opportunity to expand our TV engagement if we continue to improve. So they publish these things and they're talking about their growth and they have these revenue growths, but their stock plummets. Why is that? That doesn't seem to match up, right? Well, they didn't meet estimates, that's one thing. But there's also this graph, right? Which shows that they've grown from 7% to 8%. But if you look at the entirety of streaming overall, they've grown less than the entirety of streaming overall. And where has the rest of that gone to? To all of these free ad-supported services like YouTube. And so for them, they were so in their own world that they didn't even realize how this would look to the outside world.
That's what I was saying about the Netflix CEO was being in their own world for a good reason. Like he's super biased. But I'm telling you, like YouTube is like, if they're the moon, YouTube is like, isn't Jupiter like way bigger than the moon, right?
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. I assume
I think Jupiter is, right? Like it's a gigantic,
Earth,
okay? Right. And so like literally, so the moon is here. It's like a significant thing, right? We rely on the moon. We love the moon. Like it comes here. It's reliable every single day. But then you got Jupiter coming over here. Yeah. And like just the gravitational pull of Jupiter is stealing everything good from the moon because it's so massive. But then the person on the moon is acting like, oh yeah, we're so amazing because of this. And they're literally being overshadowed by the greatness of YouTube's like, platform, just viewership.
So more from Ben Thompson in this article. He says, the other way to interpret those graphs is not that Netflix is gaining share in TV, but that they're losing share in streaming, and they have been for several years now.
I just go on a rant about that?
Both views are correct, to be sure, but I get the sense that Netflix got fixated on its own interpretation of these graphs and didn't anticipate how investor sentiment might lead to a different interpretation. What is encouraging is that for a third quarter running, advertising was given explicit credit for revenue growth. Of course, you can interpret that as revenue growth from customer acquisition slowing down, but that has long been inevitable. It's important and notable that Netflix seems to have gotten a new driver up and running just in time to take place of customer growth, particularly since this new driver isn't governed by things like elasticity or the total number of people in the world. As long as Netflix keeps growing the time spent and starts measuring better. So here's why I bring this part up, which is that the game for Netflix is no longer acquiring and keeping customers. That still is, obviously, but their number one driver of growth more and more is going to become advertising revenue. And how do you drive the value of advertising revenue? The tried and true way, there's lots of other smaller ways, but the tried and true way is to get more eyeballs on your platform more often and for longer. And so that puts them in a direct head-to-head competition with YouTube for attention. And, Netflix has been smart enough to be, advertising this to their investors for a long time, that they care about watch time. But given everything we just said, you have to look at YouTube and you have to think, well, geez, when you, as a YouTube, and I want to bring it down to the creator level at this point. We've talked a lot of really high level stuff. Let's bring it down to the creator level at this point. To me, this represents the importance and the size of the opportunity of being a YouTuber and starting on YouTube right now, which is that you can go from posting K-pop Demon Hunters, lyric videos or, dances as a family vlogger to having your own Netflix movie or show. You literally can go from end to end, because what's going to happen is that those people who are singing K-pop Demon Hunter songs are going to get an audience. They're going to get a following over time. They're going to keep cranking away over time. And some of them are going to increase their production. They're going to create their own little mini show on YouTube. And then Netflix is going to look at that and say, hey, we actually want to buy your show. We've seen it with Mark Rober. We've seen it with Miss Rachel. We've seen it with Dude Perfect. You go down the list of people who are making Netflix shows who were YouTubers, and the list just keeps getting longer. And given this, Netflix is going to want to capitalize on that as well. And so all I'm saying is that it's a great time to be a YouTuber, in my opinion. And right now, YouTube is very well positioned against Netflix to be super successful for the next 10, 20, 30 years even, potentially.
Even more tangible, rather than going from YouTube to Netflix, how about just going viral on YouTube and then becoming a YouTuber, right? Like I mentioned, the whole Sam and Nia story.
Yes.
And getting an audience. And, like what I think strategically is, this is kind of the game for creators whenever there is a viral hit. So in this case, a viral movie like K-pop Demon Hunters. You try to do those music videos. Now, they're hustling out there now. Like these people will do a music video rendition of every single song in K-pop Demon Hunters, and you only need one of them to pop off. But if you have a lot of them pop off, you make a lot of money. But then, how do you migrate that success into something sustainable? Because people aren't going to keep watching your different renditions forever and ever. So in the case of think about the audience that likes K-pop Demon Hunters. What is the type of content that you want to create that also they want to see post K-pop Demon Hunters viralness?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the strategy. But the thing is, it's happening. People are doing this, and then they're becoming maybe K-pop super fan vloggers or something like that, okay? Because if you're into K-pop, there's probably a good chance that a good group of them love K-pop. So you could do a K-pop fan vlog channel and cover K-pop content or follow a certain band. And to me, that's what's fascinating for creators. That was happening in the Frozen era, right? Over 10 years ago. Still happening now, but guess what? Even more success. And especially if you think about what I'm just talking about, longer videos are working. Because, where K-pop Demon Hunters ends, creators keep it going, right? I talked about YouTube keep it going, but really it's the creators that keep it going, literally with their own, creative renditions of it. But then like, what else do they do beyond that? And a lot of them do vlogs that are maybe correlated to it. Yeah. So like Sam and Nia, what they did was they captured a family audience, right? Because it became a family a channel. That makes sense. People that were fans of the movie that saw that viral singing video of them maybe continue following their family and going into that. So it just proves that creators know how to take advantage of anything happening culturally, right, in society, but also sustaining it. Because, I talk about how YouTube basically stole a whole bunch of attention and made a lot of money. Well, dude, the creators, they're just taking it and going the distance with it. And so the whole Netflix thing, to me, that's like the Super Bowl. But, I mean, does anybody complain if they get into the NFL? That's what's kind of interesting. Like, just get in the NFL. Just become a creator and you do it. And we're talking about big, audacious stuff. Viral videos, getting a Netflix deal, even like, what if you just start a channel right now? Because guess what? There's a lot of attention on YouTube. Never better than right now.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what I'm saying is that, if you can see the future that, you have the opportunity to go all the way up to Netflix, YouTube is definitely got the other end of the spectrum covered. In fact, that's where they began, is at the kind of smaller side of things. And on that note, actually, I wanted to ask you a question about Creator Camp. Have you heard of Creator Camp before?
Who puts it on?
I don't know. I think it's their own little creative collective, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know that there's Jack Conte was involved with an early kind of thing that they were doing for a little while, but I think their own thing. Actually, I have questions about where their funding comes from too, but they're basically a little creative collective. I think they're down in Texas. They invite a bunch of creators there, and their big thing is like how we get creators into Hollywood. Does that sound familiar at all?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little bit of context. The reason I bring it up is because they have created. These are a bunch of creators. Well, actually, let me give you a little context on the Who. There's a guy. His name is American Baron, or at least that's what he goes by. I think on like TikTok, I think his name is Baron Ryan, if I remember correctly. But on TikTok, he goes by American Baron. And for years, I've actually seen his stuff pop up on my feed. He does these great little scripted scenes where he plays two characters. They're very dialogue driven. They're almost like Tarantino-esque in the way that they kind of or maybe Coen Brothers-esque in the way that they have conversation back and forth. And he does a very good job acting out both characters. And these little quick hits of like 1 to 2 minute scenes, basically. Usually very philosophical in nature. Creator Camp invited him to their studios and said, hey, we're going to give you a $100K budget, 100 days, and you're going to make us a movie, basically. And so he wrote a movie. I think it's like a romantic comedy based off of a recent breakup that he had, put together the team of people around there. I think all creators or all local actors and things like that.
With $100,000?
I think with $100,000. Okay. And did their best to create a feature-length film that they would then go and distribute. And their big thing, funny enough, is to go into theaters and get distributed. So just this last weekend, I didn't get to go to it, but they started a tour that began in Seattle and is working its way down the West Coast and then over to New York by mid-November. And by all accounts, it seemed very successful. People really enjoyed it. People are very in on the mission here of creators disrupting the old Hollywood system. You notice a theme here. There is, and so I think they showed it at the Majestic Bay Theater, if I remember, and in San Francisco, they're doing it at the Palace of Fine Arts. And they're going to go down the list of these kind of, smaller to medium-sized theaters where they're going to sell, tickets to these shows. You get to interview, or not to interview, but ask questions of Baron Ryan and things like that and talk to the team, basically, and see how they made it. But they're going on tour and they're actually doing the thing, right? And they made this movie and they're going to distribute it online after it has a run in theaters. And their big thing is to go around the Hollywood system and go direct to YouTube as creators. And so on one end, you have Netflix doing kind of the old-fashioned way, but through their algorithmic system, and then piggybacking off of the success of YouTube. And on the other end, you have these creators who are, like we talked about, just posting their own things and doing their own things. And kind of in the middle here, you have this Creator Camp group who's trying to kind of nail the movie and the movie's success on YouTube. And so I know that there's actually a couple creators that we know that went to this thing. They seemed like they had a lot of fun. I know that there's a lot of creators that follow Creator Camp because it's inspirational to them. Like, I mean, it is aspirational to be that true creative self and express your story in a feature film. Like, that's just a medium that that pretty much any person in video has some level of aspiration towards. And so I'm curious about what you think about that. We'll keep this one short, but I just wanted to put it on your radar because it's an interesting development in the space as the power of these platforms really makes itself clear.
Yeah. Well, I'm not familiar with that creator and the movie. Obviously, I haven't seen it. Yeah. But, it's just like a mini version of what happens in Hollywood. Every time an actor or actress, star in a movie, what do they do to promote the movie? A PR junket, right? They go to different PR gatherings and they bang out 10, maybe 50 interviews and then maybe go to London, do the same thing. I mean, this is just that version of it. The difference is when you do a PR junket, you're getting interviewed by somebody from a publication or a news channel or maybe even a YouTube channel. And then that video goes out to maybe your fans or potential fans of the movie. In this case, it's direct. The relationship's more direct, way more intimate too, because these are people that probably watched you.
Yes.
And the hustle of meeting your fans is going to help, I think, the movie do well versus the movie. Just the thing about the Demon Hunters, going back to, I don't know if we're revisiting that.
Yeah.
It just did well because it was a great movie. There's no PR junket for that.
Yeah.
There might have been some kind of marketing push.
No, I mean, going back, they didn't even know it was going to be a hit, right?
Yeah.
This so much so that there's not going to be toys this December.
I don't have any big thoughts on that because it could have gone both ways. I think 100,000 isn't even that much.
Oh yeah, it's very small.
It's very small,
indie,
right?
Yeah.
They probably put in their own money, to make it big. But I will say, it's just the beginning of more of that kind of money.
Yes.
Because as Netflix included sees people succeeding on YouTube on their own accord with their own budgets, they're like, how can we amplify it? But it's just ironic talking about K-pop Demon Hunters because they still got gunpowder that's dry and ready to go, right? Yeah. So it's not one or the other, it's kind of both. The big question for me is, when is the big hit movie going to happen on YouTube? When is a studio or a creator going to decide, I'm going all in on this movie being released on YouTube? Because that will happen eventually. I don't know if that's groundbreaking for me to say.
That is what they're trying to do. That's their whole goal, right? They're just saying, we're going to do a theater, a small theater run first, right? These 4 different locations. But our goal is to distribute it on YouTube and have the YouTube algorithm make it go big.
So the cool thing about the YouTube algorithm and just the platform is you'll see the views.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so what did you report about how many views that
300 million?
300 million.
So there's a scoreboard now, basically.
If a movie even gets 50 million views, it's a player.
Yeah.
If it gets 300 million views, you're talking that's big time. A executive seeing that and it's a 2-hour a legit movie, they're like, oh dang, right? Yeah. So for me, I'm that's the metric that I'm shooting for. If I'm a YouTube movie producer, not that you need that many to be successful, because the reality is, even if you get 1 million views, you're making quite a bit of money because how many ads could play? That's another question though. Do you really want that many ads playing in a movie? I wouldn't want that. And that's a bigger kind of maybe problem they have. Because when you make a movie on Netflix or in just traditional Hollywood, that money is paid so that you make money off of someone paying for the ticket, or in the case of Netflix, the subscription. Where on YouTube, most people aren't paying at all. They're just watching the ads, but that ruins the viewing experience. So then to avoid that, what do? Don't turn on ads, but doesn't YouTube automatically turn on ads? See, I think YouTube, my whole thought is on landing the plane on this, YouTube needs to have a special strategy for movie content if they want to play that game. And the real question is, do they want to play that game? Because they might not want to play that game or not even care, because guess what? People are watching 1-hour vlogs, and those are definitely not produced like a movie.
Or they're watching 3-hour long Pat Flynn
podcasts. Yeah.
Or I was thinking Pat Flynn, epic shows, basically, where it's this episodic thing that's almost like pro wrestling to some degree, right? The thing that my big takeaway from it is that this wouldn't be possible without the TV era of YouTube, right? It would really kind of suck to watch a full-length movie
Agreed.
on your phone, right? Which is really what people were optimizing for 10 years. And, the other piece of it is just the abundance of ability to create nowadays. 20 years ago, just to have the tools you needed to make a full-length movie, let alone the script writing or the ability to pull people in or just the sheer talent. There's so many people out there who are so talented now making visual media now that this type of thing is more accessible than it ever was before. And with a $100K budget, again, I haven't seen the movie, reviews haven't come out, but I imagine it's good. I really like these guys, and no matter what, I really applaud their effort. It really speaks to that opportunity, which is one of the things that we talk a lot about at Vlogging Academy, right? Is that it is the best time. And it's not just the opportunity that the algorithm represents. It's not just the fact that YouTube is bigger than it's ever been before. It's the devices that people are watching on, and that you have the opportunity to reach people in the places where you traditionally would think of as the stars being, right? TV, movie theaters, right? At this point, Netflix to some degree or another, right? YouTube is now enabling that for everybody with the right commitment, with the right approach. And on a smaller level, it's also just enabling people to build careers whatever they love to do and what they already do, which is one of the things that you talk a lot about in your new vlogging method, right?
Yeah, to prove the point, I put out a unedited vlog, right? Which happened to be my longest vlog ever, my number one money maker.
Yes.
It made more money than all the more edited vlogs, definitely the shorter vlogs. And I think just purely, I like to say it was so good, like the K-pop Demon Hunters. No, I actually think just the length of it was just a perfect fit for my viewers and the type of people that want to view that type of content. And that's why it made a lot of money, because literally more ads play in a 56-minute video versus my normal 20 to 30-minute video. So proves the point that one, an unedited piece of content can get views, and two, the longer videos pay more because literally more ads show up. And this is just kind of like showing that my new vlog method works, but this like new demand for longer videos is the beginning of the new opportunity on YouTube, the new era of YouTube that a lot of creators are taking advantage of, and you can take advantage of on the Vlogging Academy if you want to join and learn from me.
Yeah, if it seems lofty to you what we're talking about, all this takes is a first step, right? It's to start to understand YouTube and start to understand what you want to do on YouTube. And we really, truly believe that anybody can do that, right? If you're looking for the easiest way, what we believe is the easiest way to get started on YouTube, go check out vloggingacademy.com to learn a little bit more. We talk a lot about it there. You can also email us at hello@vloggingacademy.com. We're happy to have a conversation with you. And our thanks of the students of Vlogging Academy for helping with this show. And it's so great that you talk about that, because that is the final topic of the day in our film room, which is the segment of the show where we kind of do the director's commentary for our channels here. The other day, you sent me a message. I want to start with one message, and then I want to get to the thing you were just talking about. You sent me a message actually about Judy's channel in particular, because she's been doing the not the Vlogtober challenge, but she's been doing Vlogtober proper, uploading a video basically every day.
Yep, every day.
Every day, which is just amazing. Back the old-fashioned way. And one of the things we talked about last week was how the new vlogging method kind of has helped her enable that, because one of the tenets of the new vlogging method is sustainability. And the way that you do that is by relaxing the edits, not over editing anymore. And he sent me this message that says, seeing a ton of these comments, Judy's really unediting her normal style. And here are the comments that she posted that were just back to back with one another on the YouTube Studio page, which says, I actually like this laid back edit style. I love longer vlogs from your fam. Heart, 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 heart. And there's another one that says, I love the vlog style in October. Every day I look forward to the vlog. Just want to leave it there for you first, which is that these people are responding to the more laid back, calmer edits and longer videos that Judy is posting. So tell me a little bit about the transition between those two things, about how it reflects the new vlogging method, and about why you sent me that message in the first place.
Yeah, because in the beginning of our daily vlog, when we did Vlogtober in 2011, it was just behind the scenes content. It was what like vlogging used to be, and you didn't overthink it. You just put it into a timeline and kind of like chopped it up so that it was viewable, but you didn't care really as much about the length. and even the production of it, until it got really competitive. And to Judy's credit, you got really good at editing, right? So this was the beginning of the end.
Yes.
Just like really choppy, really punchy, really entertaining. And because of that, guess what? Vlogs got shorter and shorter. You could have done a longer vlog, but it was hard to do a really punchy, entertaining, engaging vlog that was longer than like 8 or 10 minutes unless you had a ton of content. So you fast forward, in this case, almost 15 years later, because of the TV and the way people are viewing content on YouTube, not only has Judy, and Judy kind of jokes like, I don't even follow the vlogging method, but she does two of the big things that I do suggest. Number one, unedit your videos, meaning just let it relax. Don't worry about like cutting it so much, going from one word to the next word. I mean, like in the old way of vlogging, there wasn't even breathing room, right?
Yes.
You couldn't even have the breathing in there.
You cut out all silences.
You're actually making this way more realistic, which people are liking. I think to a certain degree, those nostalgic viewers from the beginning that remember that era. And the second part is a longer vlogs. You know, we should have saw the signals for this back in 2015. I remember how much people would get excited if there was a 15-minute vlog.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh, a 15-minute vlog. I remember once we hit 18 minutes. They're like, I can't believe we're going to have an 18-minute vlog. And we should have known right there. We should have made all our vlogs
Listen
18
to your
minutes.
fans.
Oh my gosh. Now it's funny because like 18 minutes is kind of short for me and Judy right now. But point is, Judy's letting it relax. So in the relaxing of the content, the videos just get longer. And, you know, anytime we're flirting 30 minutes and this becoming a theme, just always does well. And so, especially with a vlogging audience that is connected to the creator, even if they're not connected, they're watching so much of it that average view duration percentage is usually 50%. So if it's a 20-minute vlog, they're watching 10 minutes. How many ads play during those 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If it's 30 minutes, it's oftentimes really close to 15 minutes. And so even like someone that's not doing vlogging, my friend Anton, who's going to record his podcast here soon, he's doing like 40-minute videos. And we used to like tell him, me and Nuchely, who's on here, like, hey, let's try to shorten it up next time. Today, I finally said, hey, let's let him cook and go, because his last two videos that popped off, both were like 40 minutes long.
Interesting, huh?
Now, his AVD isn't as strong. So it's not 50%.
Yeah.
But still like 10 minutes talking about really, really gnarly economics and, Washington state law. So I think it's playing into this behavior of just letting videos play, especially when you're watching it on the TV, or in his case, probably just listening to it on the phone. You're just like putting it on and you're just listening to the whole thing. So this is what the easiest way right now, and Judy is benefiting from it, my vlogs are, and even my friend Anton, is just make longer videos. Still has to be valuable. Still has to be focused on a topic, right? We talk about this in the 3 T's, the new vlog method. But if you're making a longer video, you're already ahead of the pack, because everyone's competing for those shorter video views, and especially for short form, right? Shorts, TikToks, Reels.
Yes, yeah.
Just by default, if you make a longer video, if it's relevant enough to the thing that people are interested in, it'll autoplay, or YouTube will suggest it because they're looking too. I really believe the algorithm's looking for longer videos, because I arbitrarily did that unedited video and try to make it like an hour long. I even put a segment at the end to try to get it to that 1 hour mark.
Really?
Yeah, I did, right? I recorded it on the Final Cut Pro's camera capture function, right? Which, if you don't know about this, it's a way to record a video in your editing software. And then I dropped it into the timeline to really hit that hour. And that thing has got like 24,000 views, number one, like moneymaker. So going back to Judy, that's all she's simply doing. She's unediting. She's still editing, to her credit. It's like amazing. It's entertaining. So it gets a lot of views. Her fans love it, but it's just longer now. Right. I actually am like excited for her, because I know it makes it fun for her, because before she had to edit out a lot of stuff. Now she just leaves it right in, So it's exciting because we've never seen this. There was never the like, oh, don't edit as much. And we always said, make shorter videos. Now we're like, oh, just leave it really long.
Yeah, to me, it's the comments that really do all of the speaking, which I'm sure is why you sent them, which is just how positive that feedback is, right? It's like what you said about the 18-minute video, like the longer vlog thing that you were talking about before, but to an extreme in this case, right? Where you're hitting those 30, 40 hour-long marks, right? And that the positive feedback is that it really proving the point there. But speaking of the unediting and what you just talked about, you did also send me the second text, which was a bunch of screenshots of the videos from your Vlogtober on your cooking channel, where you said, my quote-unquote unedited video is my #1 money-making upload in this period, which was amazing, right? So it was the top of the list. Do you want me to share the numbers, or should we leave those
go
private?
ahead. You can share the numbers.
So the top earning content was $500. That was from one video that you did in this Vlogtober period that was completely, and I mean this completely, unedited.
The hardest part was just watching the video, just making sure there was nothing inappropriate in there.
So let me describe Benji's process a little bit. You'll learn more about this in Vlogging Academy if you choose to go there. But just to prove the point, you can go and watch the vlog, and you can know that during this Vlogtober period, it was his #1 money-making video. You go ahead of time and you have a plan about the topic and takeaway that you want to record when you go to Costco. And this time you chose the topic and takeaway to be about cooking lasagna. You go to the store, you shop for the lasagna there, right? You bring it back home, you cook the lasagna, and that's the video. Well, but what's the production process look like? Well, the production process looks like this. You go to the store and you have a segment where you have your DJI Osmo and you're recording. You think, okay, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I want to record this thing. You hit record and you say, this is the thing that I'm about to pick up, and you go grocery shopping for it, and then you hit stop on the record. Then you go to the next thing, you do that again, you do that again. You bring it home, you do the cooking all the exact same way, where you're just recording exactly what you need, right? And then what do you do?
I'm editing as I'm recording because I'm only starting and stopping the camera when I know like I need this content, and when it's done recording is the end of the clip.
100%. And then what do you do after the fact? You take all those clips, you copy them over to your computer, and you drop them in your Final Cut timeline.
Literally, I drop them into the timeline, and it just populates because I record linearly. That's another strategy too.
Yes.
Like I don't do like an end clip at the beginning. I don't do a beginning
You're not
clip
doing voiceover or B-roll or any of that.
or graphics, no text.
You just drop it in there. You watch it through, and at the end, you're like, I want to hit an hour, so I record in Final Cut Pro and hit export and hit upload, and that's it. That's the entirety of the production process.
It's awesome.
This is incredible. I mean, like, I just want to make it clear. If you are not uploading to YouTube because you think the editing is going to take too long, if you've got all of the
Maverick
footage,
moments,
all
I
of the
said
footage
it right, didn't
on-
I say Maverick moment?
You did. If you've got all the footage on your hard drive that's sitting there unedited because you recorded way too much and you didn't think about it ahead of time, you really need to start rethinking things. This goes for me, by the way, for only uploading one video this month. Simplify the process. I mean, you could really be to the point where, especially if you're in short form, be making full-time money if you start building your audience on YouTube, starting with AdSense alone, if you go with the vlogging method. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to get there. I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight, but this is proving it. I mean, $500 a month from one video, that's pretty amazing. And that was just one of, I don't know, what, 20?
It wasn't even a month. It was just like 2.5, 3 weeks, you know? One thing I want to say, when I started cooking the lasagna, you could actually see me at the end of the clip go to turn off the camera because it's away from me.
Yeah.
And I didn't use this. By the way, I did use my DJI Osmo button, but sometimes like I just need to press it. So you'll see me at the end of the clip do it. I never would have left that in before.
Yeah.
But again, I was like, you know, I think people don't even care about that.
For the sake of principle.
Once they get into a video, especially if it's longer, they're not overthinking anything. It's just like kind of entertaining. It's playing in the background. It all depends on the topic, of course, and like the theme of your channel is going to be different because Judy would never leave that in. But it makes me wonder, you know, like I kind of want to try this with Judy one day.
Wow.
Like, honey, let's just like record like an hour and a half vlog.
Yes.
And just like let it play. Just see what the heck happens. That's what I want to do with this video. And when I say Maverick moment, there's a scene in the video where Tom Cruise has to show all the young pilots. Let me show them how it's done. So he flies into the course and then he like beats a course in record time, right? And I'm like, I just need to show people it's okay not to edit and you won't die, number one. And then two, it's possible. I never actually thought it was going to make that much money.
I know.
I didn't even think it was going to get that many views compared to my edited one. So even me, I had some doubts. Boom. And now I'm like, man, I should do this more often. I will say one thing though. It makes the recording process very intensive.
Totally.
My brain is fried after that.
Totally.
So it takes some preparation, in some cases, a lot of preparation. And when you're recording, you know, I didn't have my kids when I was recording that at all. The reason I bring that up because, you know, it's a lot of work. Taking care of your kids and then recording some vlog footage. So it takes a lot of focus, but it's totally possible. The reason I did this was I wanted to squash the excuse I don't have enough time and I don't know how to edit. If you have time to do the thing that you would do anyways, that you're going to record about, and you have the time to actually record, all you need is the time to put it in a timeline and export. If you're confident everything is appropriate, like for me, I have kids. There's certain things that they don't want to talk about on camera, and they weren't in the filming, but say they were in the background. I'm just watching that. But if I skipped that step, it would have been so fast. I could have been done recording the last clip, dropped it in timeline, and exported it and put a relevant title to it, and it would have been off to the races. I could have done that the next day and the next day. The only thing that limits me is I have a whole family vlog on my other channel with my wife. But if I'm just doing this, I could be doing it daily. Now, I'm someone that I actually say I'm not that naturally talented. I'm not natural on camera. I became this person. So there's so many of you guys that already are good at what you're talking about. You're competent in the theme of your channel. And guess what? You actually come off as very entertaining, engaging, maybe funny, interesting. And man, the only thing that's stopping you is like this misnomer you have about like you have to have more produced, shorter videos, and this new era where longer videos work and it just has to cover the topic. That's what's cool. The entry to barrier, a barrier to entry is so little right now, both on the actual camera side because you can use your phone, editing side because in this case no editing. I'm not the only one that's done it. There's people that have one clip that's unedited, that's an hour long, that gets 1 million views, and then you believing that there's someone on the other side that wants to spend the time with you. And the easiest way to prove this is if you spend time with anybody in your life nerding out on a topic for an hour, for 2, for 3 hours, multiple times a week, there's easily thousands, if not tens of thousands, maybe millions of people that would watch a video about that. And the only thing stopping you is actually recording the video, uploading it, and packaging it appropriately, which we teach at vloggingacademy.com to get started with this thing. And, you know, there is this graph I saw today of this, the diary of a CEO. Have you seen that? The guy, you know what that channel is? The diary of yeah. It's this guy that interviews like CEOs and successful people. It's just a podcast. And the success was like really, it was almost no success, right? He was even saying like, I was embarrassed to put up this crappy content. And then finally, like in 2020 starts taking up. Now he's valued at almost $500 million, his company. And the reason I put that out is you have to get through putting up those uploads. I would say though, with this understanding of longer videos work and unedited content is like actually palatable to viewers, you could have success sooner, but you have to upload a video. And the easiest way to do that right now is with vlogs, utilizing the new vlogging method, which of course we teach at Vlogging Academy. And that's all I did on that Costco video. That's my #1 money maker on my channel right now.
And by the way, if you don't have a Mac, if you don't have a computer that's powerful enough, if you've got an iPhone, I mean, like literally in the last month, Adobe has released a free version of Adobe Premiere on the iPhone that you could literally do exactly what you just described.
And didn't they announce you can upload directly from Adobe to YouTube now?
Yeah, they have a partnership. And just one more thing on that, which is that, you know, if you look at the statistics for the video that we're talking about, #1 viewing device is TV. By far, it's 55% viewed on the TV.
My video?
Your lasagna video. Wow. The next one is mobile phone, and that's not even half. It's 23%, right? And so it's just proving the fact that the TV is without the TV, that type of video probably wouldn't have been possible in the past. I'm just being 100% honest, right? And like you said, if you're looking for the opportunity to kind of get started on it, I think Vlogging Academy is a great. We have covered the entire spectrum of the possibilities of the media space, especially on YouTube nowadays, from the no edit vlog to potentially going to feature length film K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, right? All of that's possible on YouTube. But if you're looking for an entry point, Vlogging Academy is an incredible place.
By the way, a funny little story. I showed it to Chris, my editor, right? And of course, what would an editor think? He's like the guy at the company that his job's in danger, right? He doesn't feel that way, but I was like, look, my number one video is a video that you didn't edit, that I didn't edit either. I just uploaded. So I can tell it was successful from the thumbnail. He designed the thumbnail. So credit to him. And I don't know if that was like a joke or he was being serious, but there is some truth to it. The packaging still matters. The title and thumbnail of your video determines how many people will discover it that don't know who you are. So even if you have a really good long video, make sure you title and thumbnail like in a way that matches. And so to Chris's credit, who edited the, by the way, minimal editing. Totally. I told him what to put on there, right? Which was not like rocket science. It can be the difference between something getting, 5,000 views or 20,000 views, and depending on your audience. So yeah, cool stuff. It was working for me. It's working for a lot of other people. It can work for you. Go to vloggingacademy.com if you want to sign up and start vlogging now, or especially in 2026, because it's coming up. And guess what? It's not going to last forever.
Our thanks to the students of Vlogging Academy for helping make this show possible and for just taking advantage. Like, we're proud of students every single day. We had a student hit their first few thousand subscribers after taking Vlogging Academy. We got an email from them the other day. So congratulations to them, and just really, really proud of the community that we're building over there at vloggingacademy.com. And we'll see you next week.